Hello, and welcome to another Monday night stream. Just check to make sure that is working. Yes, it is. Okay, good. I'm a couple of minutes late because I'm using OBS to stream, and I hit the start recording button instead of the start streaming button. Whoops. Krogan, hello. Always good to see you. Crazy, you're on time, but I wasn't. I pressed on OBS. The start recording button is below the start streaming button, and I pressed the wrong one. Luckily, you didn't really miss anything. It's just just me saying welcome to another Monday night stream, which is how I usually begin things. I'm doing pretty good. How are you? So, last week I released chapter 24. If you haven't seen it, it's on the channel. This week, on Thursday, chapter 25, 26 the week after, and then 27 after that. Which means there's only 5 chapters left on the book. And I started working on those. I mean, I've done bits and pieces already, but now that's all I've got left. And I was working on it, and then I started thinking, as a pause, at this thought of, this is the end of the book. And this is a project I've been working on for quite some time, and a lot of you have been following since the beginning. And now, almost at the end, and it's kind of hard to know how to feel about that. And obviously I'm going to keep going with it, but yeah, only 5 to go. And yeah, I'm good. Went to a Fan Expo event recently and got a Black Series Throne figure and a photo taken with Hayden Christensen. Very nice. I got a Black Series Throne here on my desk. It's a very nice figure. I kept mine in the box. And I've heard that Hayden is also very nice. Lost Fire's first off, congrats for getting this far. Second, that was very odd. Came here to open chat and didn't see the bar where I could type. Well, that's very odd. Maybe YouTube was glitching. I'm afraid I can't really do anything about it because I don't have any control over it. But obviously you can talk now, which is nice. I'm glad you're here. Burning Earth Productions. Hello there. Currently working on a Star Wars fan for myself. I definitely understand the apprehension about the project coming to a close. Yes. Working on this thing has been a big part of my life for so long that it's kind of weird to think of getting close to the end of it. At least the end of Heir to the Empire. Roger, hello. All the way from South Australia, on the complete opposite side of the planet from me in the UK. So I guess it's around lunchtime for you. General animations. Alright. Yeah. So this evening I'm going to be working on chapter 28. which is a strange thing. So what's your plan after three books? Yeah, I know there's I have no idea how long it take me to do the other 2 books in the trilogy, so I haven't thought about that far ahead at all. And I started this 2019. Now obviously there was a big gap between the first and second chapters while I tried to figure out, am I crazy enough to do it, and then how do I do it, because I had to create all the characters and find the voice actors, and that's a long process. And obviously the character models have changed since then. I've given them upgrades as the software's improved, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know what I would do after that. Could you only imagine how the writers of Andor would have handled Thrawn? That would have been crazy. Well, the thing is, there's a potential for Thrawn to be in Andor, because take a nice vacation. That'd be nice, yes. There's the episode of Rebels where Mon Mothma has escaped Coruscant and is being pursued by the Empire, in particular by Thrawn. So at some point, Andor is going to show the beginning of that story. Because Rebels doesn't show her escape, they just kind of say that she's gone on the run from the Empire. But I imagine Andor is going to show her leaving Coruscant and what happens there. So Thrawn could be in it. Even if it's just them sending a message to him saying, find her. Nick T, I'm so excited for the current chapters. Really enjoy this one. The hollow Wikipedia had me dying. Well, the thing is, I had an interaction with them on Twitter a couple of months ago, and they kind of suggested that they'd like to see a reference to Wikipedia in the show somewhere, and I thought about it, thought, okay, I know exactly where to put that. It had to be in Thrawn's chamber, but of course Thrawn's chamber didn't appear for a while, until last week's episode. So I hope they've seen it. I did send them a tweet saying, look, check this out. And you can't really see what he's looking at, which actual page that he's looking at, because I deliberately made it out of focus. But it's actually the Wikipedia page for the book of Heir to the Empire. I thought it had to be that. But yeah, I did make it out of focus because I thought that would ruin things just a little bit too much if you could easily read it. Alright, so yeah. I better get started on this. Burning Earth Productions, now you just need to put a Q plate in his chamber next. I think you need to watch it again. Mando's lessons. Wow, joined just in time. Yes, you did. I haven't actually done anything yet. I've just been chatting with you guys. Actually, I did stream a while back. Doing the square for Hyllyard City, so I'm going to look that up and have a look to see what I did before, because it was a few months back. Oh, I guess I'll have to. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Heard a rumbling noise outside, but I think it's just a plane. Okay, so we've got... Okay, I know what I haven't done. It's... Okay, so it's got this ground... This object here for the square. That's great. I'm happy with that. This is what I did four months back. What I need to do is just make a separate object of just the ground. But I'm not going to do that now because that will be not very interesting to watch. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. So save project. Because I don't want to accidentally delete all this work. Yep, okay, it's saved. Some of this building's missing. Like the front of the building's gone, and then the door just floating there. I don't know what's going on there. Of the show, Straw Hat. Last episode was great, as always. Great work from you and your team. Why, thank you very much. Always thankful for super chat support. It does mean a lot to me that you, whenever someone does that. I'm really glad you enjoyed the latest episode. It was a lot of fun to make that particular chapter as well because there was so much in it, and so you know the wide range of characters and what they were doing. So yeah, thank you. Evening all. Notice 3 more chapters ready to go up. Yep, 1 every week. In the Empire trilogy, was Thrawn planning to make himself emperor after defeating the Republic, or was he going to do something else for that? In the trilogy, it doesn't really say what his long-term goal was once he'd conquered the New Republic. Subsequent books have talked about how he was preparing the galaxy for a threat that he knew about coming from outside the galaxy, which we later learned was the Yuuzhan Vong. But he felt like the Empire's efficiency and military might was going to be better at defeating an extra galactic threat than the New Republic and their chaotic methods of doing things. But yeah, as far as the actual original Thrawn trilogy goes, he doesn't really go into his what's next. When you finish all the chapters, will you be cutting it all together into a single movie? So I will. There's already the movie edit of chapter 1 to 16. I'll do the same for that, so 17 to 32. That'll be the first movie edit. Whether or not I will do one that combines... so what I want to do after that is revisit 1 to 16 and bring them up to the rendering quality that the second half has had because of the Omniverse upgrade. So that'll be what I do next. And whether or not I'll combine all of that into one movie or not, we'll see how that goes. I imagine it'll be about 4 hours long, so that's quite a long thing to sit down and watch. Will Dark Force Rising be the next book? I will have to start reading it soon and make that decision. Geek Squadron, contribution to the fund to fix a missing building. As you said to Straw Hat, thank you so much for the super chat. It always means a lot to me. And as for the missing front of the building, let's see what we can do about it. Some of the buildings have this glitch where if you do something with the texture, it makes them disappear. But if you keep doing what I'm doing now, which is to paint the texture onto the missing piece, it will make it reappear. But I don't think that's working. This time. Let's undo that because I kind of like the steps the way they were. Actually, you know what, I'm just going to reload it, it's easier. Because there is a different way to make the front of the building reappear. Yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat, but it works. So bear with me a second while it reloads. Right, so what we want is... yeah. Nope. Okay. Which one shall I go for? Yeah, I'll go for this one. I don't know why that one doesn't have any textures, but we'll figure it out. So I'll make a copy of that. Like I said, it is a bit of a cheat, but I don't care because it works. Seen the story ideas from Nathan S. I have not actually. There we go. Building's back. Right, let's there we go. I think that worked. Oh, what's this bit here? That's not a cheat, it's a kit bash. Yeah. I guess it is. I don't know why that disappeared, it doesn't matter that much. Okay, so that's fixed. Alright, so yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm making a street because there's this scene in chapter 28 where before they get to the square they're being escorted through the streets of the city. I haven't done any of the motion capture or anything for that yet. But there's no reason I can't make the street itself. So I'm just lining up buildings. Might buy a Lego set for Wednesday, probably the throne room duel. Might also be getting the Endor speeder chase set. The throne room duel is a nice set. I've got one, but I haven't built it yet. It's such a memorable scene. You already, tell the truth, you already made Dark Horse Rising and Last Command, but are putting on a show for suspense. I wish that was true. Scarlet Oil, hello, welcome. Yeah, Imagine how much of a surprise it would be if I could do that. So yeah, basically I'm just moving these buildings around and probably duplicate some once I actually have a proper street. I'm just going to bring them all over and then it's a bit easier for me. What do you think of Ahsoka? I'm sure you have thoughts as it's based on S Empire at least somewhat. I think it's going to be. There was a lot of speculation that it's going to be a retelling of Heir to the Empire. I think the only real similarity is it's got Thrawn in it, although not yet. But the whole story and situation is so different from Heir to the Empire that I don't think that. I think that's basically where the similarities end. So I enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing the next episode. Trying to keep it a little bit spoiler free for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to seeing live action Thrawn. Obviously. Floopy, hello, welcome. Chapter 24 was amazing, can't wait for 25. I can't wait for 25 either. I've actually finished that one months and months ago, and I've been sat on it because I couldn't release it out of order. Darth the time travel at this point. Now you know too much. Was there a piranha plant in Car's base? Yeah, it was that, in the Great Hall thing. In all seriousness, your workflow with these last several chapters is incredible. Well, basically what happened is 25 and 27 I had all the recordings to finish them off. So I just did. And then I've had them sitting on my hard drive for quite some time. And then when 24 and 26 I got all the last recordings of them all at the same time as well. So I was able to. I thought, well, let's release them all weekly over the course of 4 weeks. So I finished them. I did tweak 25 and 27 a little bit because I learnt how to do a few other things since I finished them originally. So they've had a bit of an update, and I'm very excited for them to be revealed at last, especially 25 and 27, considering how long that I've had those sitting around for. Do you think Thrawn would have made any modification or changes to the Chimera in Ahsoka? Well, the Eye of Sion is big hyperspace ring like the ones the Jedi starfighters used, but obviously on a massive scale. So I imagine the Chimera is going to fit in there. So that's one modification to the ship already. There probably has been changes to the ship, obviously to survive. We don't know what condition the bridge is in, because obviously it didn't have any windows when we last saw it. You think you can give Ahsoka a cameo in the background for an episode? That would depend on if I had a good Ahsoka character model. There's no reason I couldn't put her in the background somewhere. But I don't have a good character model that I can animate of her at the moment, at least. Chancellor Palpatine, releasing out of order is our specialty. I know I could have done it, but I didn't really want to. I wanted to keep it as true to the book as possible. And technically 25 does work out of order because it's all about Princess Leia, and that there's none of the other Merca stuff that we've been focusing on. Do you think we'll see cloaking shields like in S Empire? Maybe. Ahsoka can be hanging out in the background with Lobot. They could be having a dance off. Scott, well, that's very kind of you to offer to voice her. Yeah, as far as Ahsoka goes, I'm looking forward to Wednesday, and I say Wednesday because they release at 2 AM here in the UK, and ideally I could stay up and watch it, but I'd be so tired I wouldn't really appreciate it. So Wednesday morning I'll watch it over breakfast, which is what I've done with all the Disney Plus shows really. But yeah, I'll watch it and then have to be quiet about it because no one else I know would have had a chance to watch it yet. Do you think that the Mount Tantis facility in Wayland will have any relevance to Thrawn and Ahsoka like it did to the Empire? I would suspect so, given that Dave Filoni is involved with both shows and he's obviously setting things up. Yeah, so yeah, I imagine Mount Tantis will come into effect somehow. Got oil. Same thing happened to us in America with 2 AM release date. Now you can feel how it is. Yeah, I guess it is only fair. But even in the original release times here were it was 8 AM, so I could still watch them at breakfast. So it doesn't really change anything in that regard. Although this time I will not turn my phone on until I've actually watched the episode, because I know there's going to be spoilers. I know that once Thrawn actually appears, there's going to be a lot of comments on the Heir to the Empire videos, and that's fine. I completely expect that, and hoping that people will be pleased with what they do with live action Thrawn. But I don't want to know until I've seen it myself, so I won't read the comments because my email gets the comments sent to them and stuff like that. So I will not turn my phone on until I've seen it. So hard to watch at 8 PM here in Chicago. Usually just wait till 8 PM, it's too late. Yeah, it's a long wait if you've got to go to work and stuff as well. I'm wondering if there's a Bad Batch season 3. There is going to be a Bad Batch season 3. It was announced at Celebration, and they also announced it would be the final season of Bad Batch, which sounds very ominous. The character movement seems extra smooth now. Is the new software, the latest chapters look great. The interaction between hand and card is one of my favourites. Lots of questions there. It's the same process of smoothing animation that I've always used, but the software has gotten better at it. So it's not new features, just refined features. So if I do go back and re-render those early chapters, I will reprocess that animation to make it smoother as well. Latest chapter looks great. Yes, yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out, the visual quality, and the interaction between Han and Card is my favourite. I had so much fun doing that scene. The motion capture of both characters, especially the finger point, and when Han's got his blaster and threatening Card because he thinks he's had Luke captured. Mount Tantus has to appear just to bring up the Xylo for the obligatory giant monster. There's always at least one in every new show. That's true, and we haven't had the big monsters yet, although I imagine that the Purgle are going to appear. Well, yeah. Ahsoka is getting some more covers. It's getting a lot more hype and attention because of every episode is relevant. Yeah, it's a very different feel to the show. It's like, I enjoyed the Mandalorian especially, but that's more of a, we're going to this planet, we're going to have an adventure this week, and then we'll leave, and then the next week it's something else. And of course, you got the story arc that runs between the episodes about, but it is more of a lot of those episodes you can just watch by themselves. Ahsoka is it's a galaxy-spanning adventure. I mean, you already had multiple planets in those first two episodes. You went to Corellia, and of course Lothal, and obviously a lot more to be seen and done. So it's just got a very different tone to it, and I'm excited to see it. With Lucasfilm shutting down their animation studio, so my understanding is that the studio they shut down is not the one working on Bad Batch. I can't say I'm pleased that they shut down that studio, but yeah, I was not thrilled about that because I do enjoy the animated work. I did enjoy Bad Batch season 1 and 2. I did kind of get the feel that it's not a series that could last a long time, so I'm glad they are wrapping that up. But they didn't need to, they could have done something else, a different show, different characters. Floopy, I feel like the Timothy Zahn books are set around coincidences, like how Han and Lando just happened to go to the same planet that Luke was on just days after. It's the Force. I did wonder if it's not necessarily a Lucasfilm thing, but it's a Disney thing, because Bob Iger, who I'm not a particular fan of, given his recent comments on the writers and actors who are on strike. He was saying that they need to reduce the content they put out because they're spending too much on new stuff and they can't afford it anymore. And that was just kind of across the whole, everything they own, which doesn't affect Lucasfilm, so I think Disney forced them to shut it down, which is not necessarily a good thing because they were putting out some really good stuff. Crazy, that's gotta go to bed. Have fun. I was sad to see LucasArts go as well, though the stories I've heard about LucasArts' final years, it was a real mess. Yeah, so I think Disney made Lucasfilm shut down the Singapore studio as a cost-cutting measure, which is really annoying. And then you got Bob Iger saying that the writers and actors' demands are disturbing and stuff like that, unrealistic, and that I don't know. I think these people who make, you can't have these shows without the people who write them and act in them. And it's not about the actors' strike. It's not about the people who make the big money. It's about the small roles, like Admiral Akbar and the extras who you see walking around Mos Eisley or any of the other planets. It's those actors that are the ones that are under threat. So yeah, I don't blame the actors for striking, because it's the future of entertainment that's at stake. Which means we don't only get live action stuff now. Don't get me wrong, they're cool, but I like the animated stuff. Clone Wars maybe get Star Wars. I'm glad Clone Wars did get you into Star Wars. Or maybe they watched Heir to the Empire and decided that they can't compete with it, so that's why I'm not. I don't think that's the real case, but I can amuse myself with the idea. What are your thoughts on the use of technology for digital necromancy of actors and stuff? I think you should. I think if an actor passes away, unless they specifically give permission for that to be done, that you should let them rest in peace. Don't use their face. Don't use AI to recreate them or you recreate their voices. Only if they've given permission for it. Like James Earl Jones has done that. He's recorded things so that they can synthesize Darth Vader's voice as much as they like, and he's given his permission for that, and that's up to him. But I've seen a lot of voice actors in particular saying they don't want that to happen to them, and I think, respect that. If I was Disney, I would shut down all studios too, because your series is just too good. Well, thank you so much. Master Luke, hello and welcome. Master Luke voices Luke Skywalker in Heir to the Empire. As always, it's good to see you. I've been working on this street, not very efficiently, because I've been chatting with all of you guys in the chat, which that's the whole point of the stream really, is to talk to all of you. What else? Oh, I've got this thing over here. I'll move that. I can go there. You joke about that, Darth, but I've seen how much your channel has grown. Since the early chapters, people are drawn to quality. Imagine the growth of the channel by the time last I understand. That is true. I had about 1,500 subscribers when I got started. Now, over 40,000. And that the movie edit of 1 to 16, or just part 1, as I called it, crossing 1 million views a few days ago. It's hard to imagine that when I got started, because I just did the first chapter as a test. Reverend, I have indeed watched Ahsoka. We were discussing that earlier. Scarlett, I thought you were volunteering to voice Ahsoka. Reverend, it's good to see you. You will have to go back and rewatch the stream afterwards. Just don't forget us. OG fans, now that you've become like Finn, a big deal. I will never forget the people who made this possible. That's from the people who are involved with the project, you know, the voice actors, like Master Luke here. During lockdown, with COVID, especially at the beginning, the old man next door had his young grandson who moved in to look after him, so he wasn't by himself. And we'd have socially distanced chats over the fence, and I would send him. He's not really a Star Wars fan; he's more of a Lord of the Rings fan. I would send him bits to look at and say, "Does this make sense as a non-fan?" Because obviously a Star Wars fan is going to get it, but is a non-fan going to get it? Because that's the real challenge. Because I don't think non-Star Wars fans are going to watch this and get into Star Wars from it, but I want to make sure it is easy to follow. And he would offer feedback, and that was very helpful. So he's someone I'm thankful for. All of you guys who've watched it, from those who watched it from the beginning and those who found it much more recently, those who supported the crowdfunding campaign I did a while back, so I could update the software. And the chat's moved on a long way since I started that long rambling answer. Everyone voices Ahsoka, each word by a different actor. Is that how that works? I tried tagging people, it doesn't seem to work, so I'm going to do the little test in the chat. I got your tag and it worked. Okay, good. Ah, okay, I get it. So when you tag someone, only that person sees the tag, because otherwise it would look very spammy. That would make sense. Because otherwise the whole text would be highlighted names. Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It also explains why when I was trying it before and it didn't seem to be working, because I was tagging other people and not myself. Okay, now I know how that works. Thank you. Hopefully, Master Luke, you'll see the my tag and Scarlet Oil's tag asking about Grogu. Well, I don't know, since he left me the best student I ever had so far. I mean, considering the future of the Jedi Academy, he may still be one of the best students. I'm glad you see it. So we all know it works now. Okay, good. As Royal fans, I understand everything that's going on, but I know people who would be pretty confused. Also, Ahsoka just stands there and stares for most of the time. Yeah, it's very much Rebels Season 5, but live action. We love the community here. Everyone is very welcome, and sometimes can be very toxic, for lack of a better word. I agree. And I've tried to encourage this environment where, obviously this is based on an expanded universe book, but I want people who got into Star Wars because of Disney content, or fans of Disney content, to feel welcome here too. For the very least, it makes them aware that these books exist. I've had a lot of comments since I started this project from people saying they didn't know that these books existed, but it inspired them to check them out and go out and buy them because they wanted to read the story, and they've gone out and bought more books, all the old Star Wars books. So obviously Disney aren't going to produce any more expanded universe content like that anymore. I know we get the occasional thing, but we're not going to get any new books, at least I don't think we will. But for those stories to live on, new people have to experience them, and chasing away the Disney fans isn't going to do that. So yeah, I want everyone, all Star Wars fans, to feel welcome here. Don't have to like the Disney content, but don't ruin it for people who do, is basically the way I see it. There's been Disney content I've liked, and there's been Disney content I've not liked so much, but then it goes, the same can be said about the old expanded universe. There are some books I really enjoyed, like this one, and then there's some other Star Wars books from the expanded universe I really didn't enjoy. I don't think Sabine has Force powers. They made that comment about how she has no talent with the Force. What I think it is she's known Kanan and Ezra, and Ezra gives her his lightsaber before in the last episode of Rebels, and I think she wants to live a life like the Jedi, even if she can't use the Force. She wants to learn what it means to be a Jedi, and so she's got the combat training, and she's trying to learn all the rest of it. Even if she obviously can't use the Force, but she's still. You don't have to use the Force to follow the Jedi teachings. It's not just about using the Force. It's about how you live your life. Scarlet, I can tell you're a Disney fan from the way you were talking, and I'm glad you feel welcome here. They need a Clone Wars, but in the sequel trilogy. I've seen some speculation that these live action shows like Ahsoka, which are obviously set long before the sequels, but they're setting things up like hints of the beginning of the First Order, which we saw in the Shadow Council. So I think they'll fill in some of the gaps and explain how the galaxy got into that state. Because that's one of the things that they didn't really cover in those films, is they didn't explain how the galaxy got from Return of the Jedi to, with the Empire defeated, and then suddenly the First Order is there. And obviously there's a lot can happen in 30 years, and they can't explain all of that. But I felt that they could have gone into a little bit more detail on how that came about. I could tell you were a Disney fan by the way you were talking. Because you were really excited about Ahsoka. It's not an insult, it's just you were so excited about the Disney shows, so I could tell you were a fan of the Disney content. I'm also a fan of Ahsoka. I really liked Rebels. Rebels is still my favourite thing that Disney have done. And I kind of consider Ahsoka to be season 5. So I imagine that Ahsoka is probably also going to be one of my favourite things they've done. It didn't bother me that she survived. As Master Luke pointed out, if a blade doesn't hit vital organs, established survival. And it's a lightsaber blade, so it's going to cauterize the wound, so she's not going to bleed out. People survive being stabbed by swords in the real world, and that's harder to survive because once the sword comes out, you're going to bleed out, and that can kill you, even if the actual stabbing doesn't. Who is Marok? I kind of hope Marok is just no one important. He's just there. I don't think he's Star Killer. He's definitely not Ezra. What would you do when he said okay? So you said yes, would go. I'm not quite sure I understand that question. If you could ask it again, I'll answer it. I suppose so. I just feel bad for Qui-Gon now. I guess it makes sense though, because there were no Sith to kill him before more. I imagine that lightsaber blade pierced and melted the door. It did melt the door in episode 1, but it was in that door for quite a long time. It was taking Qui-Gon a while to cut through that door. Also, I imagine Ahsoka was able to get Sabine to a medical facility quite quickly. Whereas Qui-Gon was lying on the floor with that wound for quite a while before Obi-Wan was able to defeat Maul. And Obi-Wan would have had to... I mean, obviously Qui-Gon died there, but Obi-Wan would have had to drag him through the reactor room out to a medical facility, whereas Ahsoka could just put it on the ship and fly to somewhere, to a medical facility, which would be much quicker. And imagine that the ship had medical facilities on it as well. Like, obviously not like a hospital, but there'd be something that she could have used to stabilise Sabine long enough to get her proper treatment. Master Luke, it's really good to see you. Thank you for coming by. And thank you for being part of the project. His blade was almost as long as the blade was in the Grand Inquisitor and Kenobi. Well, we don't know what... If the Grand Inquisitor had already had cybernetic implants to cover up previous wounds, so I don't know. On the 7th Fleet, were there any other Imperial ISDs active after the Battle of Jakku, or they destroyed or sent to the unknown regions? I have no idea. I haven't really been following. The only post-Return of the Jedi content I've been following is the TV shows, so I don't know about any of the books, about the other stuff, what else survived. Did anyone else notice... Did anyone notice how Lothal is a port city with water? In Rebels, it's just a city in plain area. Epilogue of Rebels and Ahsoka, there is a whole sea. Probably helps that they've got more money to do more with it. When you see Lothal from orbit, I'm pretty sure they showed some water, like oceans, but I mean I can't remember. I'm going to look now, actually. To Wikipedia. Yeah, I've just found a picture of Lothal from Rebels from orbit, and it's kind of got the yellowish ground and blue water. We know that the Empire polluted Lothal quite a bit, and it's obviously done a lot of environmental damage. But it looks like in Ahsoka they've undone a lot of that damage. They did it with Fennec Shan, so true. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Something like that. I watched Rebels show 6 times over and never noticed the water besides the epilogue. I've only just finished rewatching it, but you're kind of making me want to watch it again, just to see if there is any water in the background somewhere. It could also just be that water can be a tricky thing to animate, so maybe they decided not to show it until they really had to. How does one get into voicing characters? We need a microphone. Audacity is a good free piece of software. If you're talking in general, I would suggest record some samples of different voices you could do and check out voice acting websites. Put a demo reel together on YouTube. Maybe the animators made it simple blue. Yeah. I noticed in the last season of Bad Batch, suddenly there was lots of water, and they did a lot of water effects in it. And as an animator myself, obviously, with this, I couldn't help thinking, someone's got new water simulation technology, and they really want to show it off. Bad Batch world design is so cool. It's amazing. It really is, and they did it in the the last season of Clone Wars as well, where they really upped the quality of the animation. You can tell that what they could do now is so much different from what they could do when they first started Clone Wars, and I really liked what they do now. Never forget tech sacrifice. So there was a theory going around Celebration that he's not dead. Probably wounded, but not dead. Hi again, missed last week's stream. Well, that's alright, you're here now. Welcome. I do try to stream every week. Occasionally that doesn't always work out. But, yeah. Yeah, go back and watch the last 4 season 7 of Clone Wars like it's a movie, and I get chills every time. That last season was so good. I like the added Mount Tantis to Bad Batch. The design was definitely different from previous depictions we've seen. Yeah. What I did like about that was, even though the mountain itself was different, the way they made the forest around it look was very similar to what I've done. But then I guess forest is going to look like a forest. Do you have any tutorials on your software? I'm personally making Clone Wars animations, but they take so long. I haven't made any tutorials myself, unless you count watching these streams. Although, given how often when I'm doing these streams, I end up talking about Star Wars and not what I'm doing, they're probably not the easiest things to follow. But this software is called iClone, and it's made by Real Illusion. So if you Google that. But also, they do some really good tutorials on this software, much better than anything I could do. And their tutorials cover every single feature. So you just find one that's the getting started one. It'll get you, get you started. And then, as you learn more about the software, there's other tutorials to help you with that. That exist, but not ones I've made myself. Yeah, Dave Felonius. Slowly working EU stuff into canon. Bane, Darth Revan and Nihilus have all been somewhat canonised. Mount Tantis, Thrawn, Pelion, etc. Yeah, and even some of the ships. And Rook. What's the other thing I saw that's... E-Wings. Corran Horn is canon now. Well, that wasn't a Filoni thing. It was actually Kenobi that made Corran Horn cannon. Yeah, little bits of Expandiverse keep reappearing. As a fellow animator, your world design is epic. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the super chat there. I do appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad that you're making Clone Wars animations. But yeah, check out it's Real Illusion. Actually, I'm going to write the name down here. Look them up, and you'll find the software. And if you look them up on YouTube, you will find the various tutorials they've put out there. I wonder if there will be a replacement for Rook in Ahsoka. That would be nice. It would be nice to see a live action Nogri. I think it might be time to wrap up the stream. I've been here for about an hour. I kind of made the street that I wanted to do. As always, it's been really good chatting with all of you. Had a really good discussion this evening. Don't forget Thursday, chapter 25. If you haven't seen it yet, 24 is on the channel as well. That was released last week. Work is coming on. This is the first biggest part of 25 I've worked on, but the bits and pieces are coming together. 28 rather, not 25. Bits and pieces I've got so far are coming together nicely. And it still feels really weird to be working on the last 5 chapters of the book. Also behind the scenes, Marok is played by a stunt double of Sam Witwer, who helped in the video games. Yeah. I've seen that he was in the credits, but no one knows where. He also does voice acting, so he could have voiced any number of characters in the background. They killed him off in Rebels, in theory. They didn't show the body, but then they wouldn't, because Rebels is obviously a kids' show. Well, it's got to be suitable for kids. But there's no reason that Thrawn wouldn't go and get another bodyguard. The stunt double for Marok is the same height as Sam Witwer, and they did a lot of motion for Starkiller. Okay. I don't think he's going to be Starkiller. I could be wrong. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Though I'm quite happy if he's just the last Inquisitor and they don't really explore him at all. Keeps him very mysterious. Star Wars does have that as well. You get these characters that look good and they're exciting and so on, and then they don't develop them. Like Boba Fett, everyone loved Boba Fett, and even when the only thing you knew about him was his brief appearance in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. The Star Wars does have a long tradition of mysterious characters that everyone's intrigued by. I had Rex in mind, but forgot about Zeb in that scene where Rook was blown up. Well, they were both in that scene. Rex was there with some of the other clones. I had to switch accounts to send that for some reason. Oh, well, thank you so much. I do appreciate that as well. It's very kind of you. So yeah, I think it's time to wrap the stream up. It's been really good talking to all of you, and feels very strange to be working on the last 5 chapters of the book after all this time. So, yeah. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for the super chats. That's very much appreciated. And yeah, I will see you all next time. So take care, have a good evening. See you on Thursday as well for chapter 25. And for those of you enjoying Ahsoka, I hope you enjoy episode 3 as well. I'm looking forward to seeing it. May the Throne be with you, and see you next time.